Hello there, Elaine here from mycareercompass.ie. As part of the wellness program series that's been run by the Chamber, I thought I might speak a little bit about conflict. It seems a very topical time to be talking about conflict, and as part of my work with a group in a training program, we were discussing this today, and I thought it might make sense just to add some thoughts on the subject and share them with yourselves. I would love, I suppose, if we could reimagine conflict. We live in such a divisive world. We see what's happening in the States in terms of how some leaders are stoking up fear and prejudice amongst other people. And I think we have to learn how to disagree agreeably. And part of what I would like to share with you today is a couple of ideas around that. One of the things that I think is very important in both personal and professional relationships is the ability to build and repair and rebuild bridges back and towards each other. So in long-term relationships, there are times where we're going to get it wrong. There are times where we're going to have made mistakes. And that ability to find a way back to each other, I think, is very, very important. The origin of the word conflict. The word conflict comes from to strike together. And I think we all have very negative associations with the word conflict and the concept of conflict. However, conflict can be an opportunity to clarify and to problem solve as well. So I think if we can reimagine it in a way that we expect disagreement, we expect debate in a healthy environment, especially if we're working with people who are coming from different experiences to us, different values to us, different knowledge to us as well. So two things that I think that are really important in relation to conflict is to understand your personality style. Are you a person that is very direct, or are you a person that's more reflective and needs time to consider your responses? Are you a person that really enjoys being with others and being in a social space, enjoys being the center of attention or taking the lead? Or are you more a detailed orientated person who prefers to work perhaps behind the scenes? So personality styles can really help us to unpick some of the problems that can come up in relation to conflict, because we can understand our style and appreciate and understand other styles as well. The other thing that I think is very important in relation to conflict is to think about and reflect on our legacy, I guess, that we have from our families in relation to how conflict was managed at home. Because if we have had a healthy experience around conflict, it can really help us to understand where conflict or where disagreement can actually be quite a useful process for us all. So some of the things that we need to think about is, what is my general response to conflict? Do I go towards conflict or do I come away from conflict? And another kind of reflection questions you could ask yourself about this would be, like I said, what are your experiences of conflict from home? How did your parents deal with conflict? What was your reputation as a child in relation to conflict? What do perhaps your siblings say you were like as a child? Do you feel they're fair or accurate? Another nice reflection question, I think, in relation to conflict is asking yourself, who do you really see as a very good conflict resolver? Somebody that might be you've experience of working with or observing how they work with conflict. And what do they do in order to bring people together? You could ask the opposite then. Examples of a person or an organization even that deals badly or poorly with conflict, and what are they doing that's destructive and not helpful in relation to conflict? So they're kind of questions to unpick your history or your legacy or your emotional baggage, dare I even say it, in relation to conflict. I've come across a really good book called Crucial Conversations, and I think it really does help to unpick again this topic around difficult conversations that can often lead to conflict situations. And one of the things that they talk about is our vigilance around two ideas. The first one is our vigilance around silence, and the second one is our vigilance around violence. So what does silence mean? Silence means when someone withholds information, doesn't feel safe that they are they doesn't feel there is trust there that they can tell you exactly how they feel or exactly the information that they have. And the kind of behavior that can show up are avoiding the situation, masking their actual feelings, and also withdrawal. So lack of engagement in relation to when perhaps you want to talk about a subject. The other problem is a violence around a verbal strategy. So this is a verbal strategy that people can use to control or compel or convince others of their truth. What I mean by that is they're forcing their meaning onto somebody else. The kind of verbal strategies that people can use are controlling language or controlling even the opportunity to speak and share your opinions, labeling what people might say as in a negative way, or attacking people in a verbal way that says to them that perhaps their opinions or their ideas are certainly not respected and they're not welcome. So that's that verbal strategy of controlling other people. And when we're trying to have healthy disagreement, we need to keep very much aware of those two ideas, the silence, but also that verbal strategy of violence, which can lead to around controlling or compelling or convincing somebody else of your meaning and forcing your meaning onto that other person. So healthy conflict, what does that look like? Well, healthy conflict means that both sides learn. It means there is no blame, there is no shame, and also each person in that scenario takes responsibility. So it's not leaving anybody away from their responsibility, but it's leading them towards their responsibility in a helpful and healthy way. The other thing that I just want to share with you is what Crucial Conversations talk as an approach to handle conflict situations. And they call it the state your path. And the state stands for S is share your facts. The T is tell your story and your conclusions from that story. So your perspective essentially. The A then is to ask somebody for their perspective, for their stories, for their thoughts, for their feelings. The T stands for talk tentatively. So that means talk with curiosity, without blame and shame, with genuine interest, genuine respect for that person. Really want to know how they feel about something. You really want to build that bridge towards understanding and shared new learning. The E stands for encourage testing. So that means, again, the curiosity, trying to figure out and trying to appreciate from the other person's perspective, trying to come up with solutions that might help both or whoever is involved in the conflict situation. And then E, or we said E already, and then the last one is the move to action. So once there is a consensus, we move to action and we move to, I suppose, the practical implications of what we have decided and what we have agreed. Finally, what I think is a really nice term that is used in this book, Crucial Conversations, is what they call the fool's choice. And what that means is that often in conflict situations, we stay rigid in our positions and we believe that there is only perhaps two choices. So if there's two parties involved, there's option A for the party A, option B for party B, and their two positions. Whereas what this book is suggesting and what these authors are suggesting is that you're already limiting yourself to thinking that's all that there is in terms of options. You're backing yourselves into corners that maybe do not exist. So that is my take on reimagining conflict. I hope that some of these little tips might be of use, and I hope that you, I suppose, are able to handle conflict in a healthy and empowering way.